Guys, if it's not one thing, it's another.
Americans are discovering that their passports were flagged as stolen, reported stolen while they're abroad. Now, if you're like, how the heck does that happen? I have no idea. So maybe you can let me know. But I'm going to tell you the stories because we've been watching TikTok and people are saying that when they travel to Thailand, when they travel to Rome, it's typically white Americans, not sure why, but it is. It's typically white Americans, and they're finding that they get to the airport because they were trying to flee America
Or they arrive.
just in the last
Yeah.
week or so. So they are able to get out, but they give their passport to these countries, to Rome, to Thailand, and they tell them your passport is invalid. And so they get deported back to America, and then they
Or
ask the
detained.
State Department, and the State Department says your passport was reported lost or stolen by you 2 months ago.
Guys, look, it really don't make sense, but it seems like something is going on. And, we are journeying with us. So we got to keep our folks up
In
to
the
date.
know.
Because this could hit some people, and I'm pretty sure, like, rub them the wrong way. And I can see some people really, really going, crazy in a way. Because even for me, like, if I'm in that situation, if we are traveling, we board the plane, we get off the plane, and we get to immigration, and they're saying that you can't enter because your passport is invalid. That situation will be very uncomfortable, because that situation is already uncomfortable if you are traveling, from the jump. So, our advice: make copies of everything. Your birth certificate, your IDs, of course your passport, the passport card, pretty much everything.
Yeah, we do that. Send it to your email address, your children's email address, your spouse's email address, especially if you're traveling together. Try not to travel alone, even if you're single. This is why I'm so glad we have the State of the Diaspora,
Yeah.
because our clients in there that have been in there for over a year now, they are working together. People who are literally single of various ages are saying, hey, we're going to do additional calls, just us together, so that we can figure out how to travel abroad and keep in contact with each other. That is literally priceless. But here's the thing: the State of the Diaspora, the 17th edition, begins this Friday, January 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm sorry to tell you, but somebody has already booked a slot the moment we announced it, the literal day. Because everybody knows this channel is one of the best channels that you can find in the expat community on YouTube. We cover corruption indexes. We cover things like, what the heck, how does your passport get declared that you said it was stolen when it wasn't?
2 months ago.
We've been to the U.S. Embassy a multiple number of times in different times in our lives. And here's the issue: I am a marketing specialist of 9 years. I work with tax relief firms, okay? And typically, this is why I know this from my experience, typically your passport is always going to be valid unless you owe $60,000 in federal debt, or unless you have a federal charge on you, okay? So the people in the videos were saying that has not been their situation. So their passport should be valid. So that's where the third sequence comes in, where it's like the State Department is saying that you, person with your passport, reported it lost or stolen. But the weird thing about this is, technically, you need to know your social security number. We've never lost passports, thank God, but we have renewed passports.
Yeah.
You need to know the questions that are very personal to you. And they say, wait a minute, if it's not me that has this information and did it, then surely they're thinking it is allegedly the government. But I also wonder, like, is there any possibility that it could be a cyber hack from people in Asia? Certain people allegedly, you don't know for sure. We're just trying to guess here because we're not actually sure what's going on and what's happening. But here's the thing: people only learn this once they're overseas. There's no way to check unless you call the State Department. The U.S. Post Office can't help you. The immigration obviously can't help you. You're an American. So you don't need the American immigration. So the only way to know is if you are already traveling overseas and then you get deported back, or you call the State Department. So this is only an issue for expats that are currently traveling. If you already have residency, you're already in a certain country, you're safe, which is why we have been telling people for 6 years, you want to leave America before they do this sort of thing, like a dictatorship usually does.
Yeah, it's deep, family, because even a couple people, it seemed like they recently got their passport, and the things that they were saying is make sure what is on your birth certificate. If you are male or female, right? Mm-hmm. Make sure that it says male or female. You know, I'm pretty sure you guys are catching on what I'm saying, or what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say it, but some people, they do have that X on there where they're not a female or a male, or they identify as that. So someone was explaining that too, and I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense, where if it's not on your birth certificate, why are you putting it on the passport application?
Yes, be someone that doesn't choose to be confusing. Americans can be very difficult people. Yeah. Just when you travel outside of America, you realize most humans don't function like that. Yeah. Just understand you need a legitimate passport. You're either a woman or a man. You're either married or you're not. They're very clear questions that you should be able to answer. But other nations don't really play like that. And so Americans find that out, and it's like, oh, as well as the Trump administration, he's not a big fan of transliteral things, as you guys know.
That's what I was trying to say.
Transliteral things. And so he actually told him, like, that's a valid way to get your passport revoked, according to the new administration. And so this is not a story about people being stopped at the airport before departure. Understand that you can depart America, but the issue is, will you be sent back to America with an invalid passport? And historically, this is how mobility tightens, right under your nose. Governments do not need to announce mass revocations to restrict movement. They're not going to be on CNN like, guess what? We just took away 2,000 Americans. That's not what's going to happen. This is why people are coming on TikTok. They only need to make documents unavailable and unusable on the back end. Airline systems, border databases, international compliance networks to enforce the results automatically. This is another reason you don't want to go to super saturated destinations, i.e. a Thailand, a Rome, where even these people are low-key looking at Americans now like,
yeah.
Because they may just tell you, maybe your passport would have worked somewhere in Africa. But the Thai and the Romans, they may be like,
it's invalid.
And
we are hearing stories that Americans are starting to be treated different. So that's why we say, this is what we go over in State of Diaspora about. You have to choose the right destination, the right location, because if you don't, just say if you choose a Venezuela, they probably going to be looking at Americans a certain way now. You get what I'm saying? If you choose a Denmark, I know this is relevant. They're going to be looking at you a certain way, like why are you here? So we always say you got to be careful. You got to plan this out. You got to be strategic with the moves that you make. You got to be wise in these last days. Really, because it's getting down to that when you leave America, just put it like that. You ain't no black American. You are an American.
You're an American, period. The quicker you get that into your mind, the easier your life is going to be, because then you'll say, hey, I have conversations and everybody does not like my president, and you'll be okay with that. And you'll say, I understand and I empathize with the way that America has treated the entire earth. I am not in agreement with it, while on the same side being respectful enough to say, okay, my president's name is President Donald Trump. This is why they're doing this. This is everything that's happening. You have to understand how to have a neutral stance and how to not put yourself as a target. The scriptures in the book of Matthew says, be harmless as a dove and wise as a serpent. This means that you know how to be neutral, but you're also sharp. You're wise, but you're quiet with it. Snakes are quiet and wise until you just see them. They're like, oh. And doves are peaceful and elegant. So you have to start to put on that posture. It's not going to be optional anymore. And if you can't put on those spirits of being wise and harmless, I don't think you're going to be out of America at all. You're probably just going to be right back there, because the prideful, 2026 is the year Leviathan and prideful people will fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no way that you will exist outside of America with a too prideful, patriotic stance where you cannot commune and fellowship with people of various nations and cultures.
Because that's the name of the game. You got to integrate. You got to learn how to move around. You really do. When you are stepping outside of your home country, you don't want to be a target. Like my wife was saying, you want to blend in. You want to, fit in. You just don't want to stand out, because you already are going to stand out. So, be humble, have that humility about you, and move wise, move smart.
Yeah, go to places that are in the global south that are more lenient. Maybe a Philippines, a Botswana, a Kenya, where it's going to be okay. And they just say, okay, since we have a U.S. embassy, just go renew your passport. They're not going to be so extreme, because Thailand, that was extreme. They were like, no. Rome, it was extreme. But again, these people, that was their first entry there, so they didn't even have a base of ever being there. That's difficult as well. It's not the season to digital nomad every 20 seconds. How about be a slow mad and digital nomad every 3 to 5 years? Depending on how the world looks, that's what we're looking at. And the goal is not to react. The goal is to remain optional and strategic. And optionality begins with you understanding how this world really works.
Yeah, guys, understand it, because understanding is a must to get to Earth. Wisdom, really. But just be wise and have that understanding.
Shalom, shalom. We'll see you in the next video.
Shalom.